See, here's the thing. I love Van Halen dearly. They're in my top 10 easily, maybe higher. Hell, for a while in my teens, I would have told you that they're my favorite band. Listening to the Dave half of Best of Volume 1 while walking to school made that awful period of my life a little bit more tolerable. But I f***ing hate Sammy Hagar. This is something I've touched on a little here and there in my videos and a bit more in Discord, but he's just the worst to me. His voice is like nails on a chalkboard. He's a goofy jackass. He's got no charisma at all. He's got anti-charisma. His lyrics suck. He effectively turned the band into Loverboy. Well, to be fair to Sam, he helped turn the band to Loverboy. I don't care that Sammy has a technically better voice or how it's more powerful. I don't care. I love Dave's organic voice. It's full of attitude and spunk. You can't make me prefer Sam just because of some stupid and nerdy ass metric that doesn't really mean anything to anyone who isn't a dork. People try and say that Dave can't sing the Sammy songs, which is true, but Sammy can't sing the Dave songs at all. He can't sell it. He might hit the correct notes, but it's milquetoast. He doesn't have the bravado. He doesn't have the spirit. He doesn't have the balls. I don't care that Sammy had a wider range and could hit more notes. Dave did more with less, in my opinion at least. And this is my video, not yours. Make your own video if you want. And look, if you want to like Sam more than Dave, then do it. I don't really give a shit. I just know to never really have control of the aux cord. Nah, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't want to hang out with you anyway. You like Van Hagar, ew. But in all seriousness, just don't try and convince me of Sammy's supposed greatness because I don't care. Sure, Eddie wrote a lot of that garbage too. I don't care. It doesn't sound like Van Halen. The magic was gone. It was totally neutered. Even when they tried to get heavy, it was laughable. Whether you like that or not is irrelevant. It was a totally different band. He's also a total poser. He tried to act like he wasn't Dave. He fucking hated Dave. With how little he sang Dave era songs, it made sense, especially since he could not pull off those songs at all. God, it's like watching a full-grown Chucky. But he also talked about how much he loved his wife. He wrote songs about how much he loved her, and he cheated on her constantly while on tour. Total fucking poser. Dave never put on an act. For better or worse, what you see is what you get. Not to mention all the hot chicks in their videos and stuff like that, and all these stupid outfits that they wore. You can't try and pin all that corny shit on Dave and preach about being respectful and do shit like this, you fucking hypocrites. And I don't know if I would hate Sammy so much if he wasn't such a lying, sniveling shit. His book is full of lies, including but not limited to his era of Van Halen selling more than the original lineup.
For the last few years, I don't know how many years, 10 years or something, you've been the lead singer of Van Halen.
11 years, yeah.
As a matter of fact, while you were with Van Halen sold more records than even the David Lee Roth years, right? And their biggest hits.
Yeah, sure. 1984 and Van Halen 1 alone outsell every Van Hagar record combined, and the band's biggest selling tours weren't with Sammy either. He says that before he joined Van Halen, his solo career was just as big as them. Yeah, the day. Never in your wildest dreams were you even half as popular as Van Halen, Sam. Especially during the 1984 era. I believe he even said his solo shit outsold Dave's solo discography, which is also false. When you talk about RIAA certifications, Dave squeaks him out, and only if you include one of Sammy's best of albums, it's about even. And Sammy has way more albums too. People talk about chart positions and how they only went to #1 with Sammy, which one is untrue. Jump was a #1 single, but people also forget that chart performance alone does not mean a record sold more or less than others. For instance, the only reason 1984 didn't go to #1 was because of Thriller. And last I checked, Van Hagar never went against one of the biggest selling albums of all time like that. People also forget that Dave helped put the band on the path to becoming #1. He gave them momentum. Sammy joined the biggest rock band by far in America in 1985. Of course the album went to #1. It was almost a shoo-in. Also, there's this interview that Eddie did in support of Diver Down in 1982.
We were like #3 for like 4 weeks in Billboard. Then we went to #6, and then we went to #11, and all of a sudden we jumped to 40, and our sales were more than when we were 11. They're just teaching us a lesson. You know, like, hey, don't tell us our business.
Basically, he says that Warner Brothers didn't particularly like the band, so they f***ed them over on the charts by likely giving false information to Billboard. So if this is true, who's to say that Eddie didn't once again give Billboard false information to get those albums to #1? There's a lot of hush money, insider information, intimidation tactics back in those days in the music business. Hell, there's probably still a lot of it to this day. It's just harder to hide. Now, am I saying that Van Hagar never went to #1 legitimately? No. I'm sure they sold a whole lot of records. But if Warner Brothers, according to Eddie, had already done shady business with Billboard, who is to say they couldn't do it again? But this is obviously pure speculation. A total conspiracy theory. Just think on it. That's all I'll say. With all the blatant corruption in music biz, would it really surprise you? By the way, this is all satire and a joke, and in Fortnite, and in Minecraft, and in Roblox. Warner, please do not come to my house and kill me. All I'm gonna say is that when Dave left in 1985, they're one of, if not the biggest band on the planet. And in 1995, 10 years of Sammy, and right before he left, they're opening for Bon Jovi. Enough said. By the end of the day, sales, charts, tour revenue, Doesn't matter. At this point, I'm sure Taylor Swift is a million times bigger than Van Halen ever was. I only bring this up to debunk it because Sammy and some of his drooly fans love to spew lies for no reason. If you like Sammy more, then just say that and go on about your day. There's no need to create fan fiction. Not to mention how gross a detail Sammy went into regarding Eddie's addictions in his book. He even sold a bunch of them to Rolling Stone prior to his book's release to milk the Van Halen name for all it's worth. Cause he knows no one will buy his fucking book if there are no Van Halen stories in it. Maybe 3 people globally care about the recording of 3 Lock Box. And these stories about Eddie are really dark. Things I don't even want to repeat because they're clearly the lowest moments of the guy's life. Really harrowing stuff. And Sammy sold them in his book for $12.99 for all to read. And this f***er has the gall to say that Alex is disrespecting Eddie's legacy because he only talked about the original Dave era in his book. Sammy, you wonder why Alex wants nothing to do with you? I recommend you consider purchasing a mirror, you fucking megalomaniac ghoul. Sure, people usually dish in their books. Drama sells, of course. But the stuff in Sammy's book goes from drama to bordering on exploitation. He's allowed to tell his side of the story. Apparently the brothers kind of fucked him over when they kicked him out. There's all the stuff about Michael, and he's allowed to say he doesn't like Dave. But have some fucking respect before you sell your supposed friend like that and air all their dirty laundry. Man, that ain't your place. I've read both Alex and Dave's book, and sure there's drama, there's some jabs, but they're at least respectful of their former bandmates. Dave even defended Sammy in his book against the brothers when they said that he quit when they actually fired him. Not to be a fanboy, Eddie and Alex talked mad shit about both Dave and Sam, and they totally f***ed over Michael Anthony. There's no getting around that. In fact, I find it funny when in Alex's book, he's so shocked that Dave left the band, he left their gang, talking about how they're supposed to be together forever. When Eddie got rid of Michael in the way he did in the 2000s, and he's been trying to get rid of him since 1980 at least. Just ask Billy Sheehan.
Were you ever offered the position as bassist for Van Halen? That's what I meant. My question.
3 times, yeah.
3 times?
Yeah.
Do you remember what tours they were? Like, just to, like, what era of Van Halen it was?
Well, it was
3 times?
Right, the tour after the Women and Children first tour.
But Sammy was a total liar when defending him against Eddie, when he said that he told Michael what to play and that he never actually wrote anything.
For Eddie to say he had to show him what to play and had to teach him all those songs, that is the biggest line of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
When in his book, Sammy said the exact same thing.
For Eddie to say he had to show him what to play and had to teach him all those songs, that is the biggest line of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Not to mention when Eddie made Michael sign away his rights in Van Halen to play on that last tour in 2004, Sammy, Michael's best friend forever, never stepped up in his defense. He just let it happen. Some friend you are, Sam. And to prove I'm not a total fanboy, I actually like a few Van Hagar tunes. I like Love Walks In and Humans Being. Montrose has some cool tunes, and Dave is by no means perfect. I only like one of his solo albums all the way through, honestly. Besides even his Smile, his soul discography is a bit of a clusterfuck with a few nuggets of gold here or there. But to me, it has way more of that Van Halen spirit, even at its worst.